Hello and welcome to another Mac Trains. This is a review of Hornby's Class 37. I've been looking forward to this. Class 37 was originally the English Electric Type 3, wasn't it? Came out in the 60s, still going today. Isn't that staggering? And it's not even seen as a relic. Imagine a car from the 60s on the road today that wasn't seen as a relic, that was seen as perfectly acceptable to go up and down the road in. These are astonishing machines. The Class 37 is one we've really been looking forward to, and I don't think you're going to be disappointed. So stick with us. I've done this slightly differently. I'll give you a wee heads up for that. So at the start there's a traditional expected stuff, but I've pulled some of the more interesting bits forward. I'll have a conclusion, and then after that I'll just show the taking the loco apart, fitting in the gubbins, fitting in the HM7000, adding in the Stay Alive and so on, and putting it back together again. So that's at the end. Anyone who wanted it there for reference, have a gander as and when. It's probably not the sort of thing that you're going to find dreadfully exciting, but you might find the little snippets there that are useful to you in your own attempt. So let's get on with this. Okay, time to unbox the 37. Let's see how we do. This is the DCC ready version. Now then, never very good at opening these boxes. Even less so apparently at remembering to do so on camera. There we go. Right. So we have the accessory pack, which has plenty of goodies in. You've got snow plows, you've got hoses, and you've got the body removal tool. And you've got etched nameplate. So this is Loch Rannoch. That's how you pronounce it, by the way. Make sure you get your gutturals in, people. It is not Loch Rannoch. It is Loch Rannoch. Ideally get a nice rolled R in there as well, but certainly get your gutturals in. Okay. And there she is. Nice. Time to run in. And then we'll get a chip in it. Time to look at some of the detail then. It really is a beautiful loco. The colours, the livery seems to be, to me, just spot on. The edge grill at the top, fan is clearly visible through it. The nose just captures the iconic shape of the 37. And a wee terrier on the side always looks good. Bogey detail, it's all there. That will look really well picked out in some weathering powder, I think. The tractors are meant to carry a little bit of grime, aren't they? I think that's right. Right into the cab, I'll show you a bit more of that in a moment. The front end, it's quite an imposing front end. I always thought that, and the model certainly follows that very well. So yeah, all details everywhere. Again, you've got the etched nameplates to go on the side if you want to add that on. Wee Scotty dog, not going to argue with that. The gauges on the fuel tanks as well. Everything that you really could look for in a 37, just exactly as you'd want to find it. I really like the cab step there, and look at the detail on that, the kind of foot plate there. That's really well done. You can see into the cab quite well with the eye, naked eye even. Actually, this is one place where the pictures don't help you to see through. But fine wipers applied, horns, warning stickers. Paintwork's pretty good. One or two little places of overspray, I would have to say. But at this scale, it takes a super close camera to make anything of it. You can see even the embossing on the bogies there. It's really tremendous to see that at this scale, at 1 to 120. The grill, that's maybe a little bit chunky, but again, you know, only when you look at it like that. You can see right through, you can see the cab a wee bit better there, I think. So yeah, and there's even some painting on the dials internal to the cab. That shows a wee bit better. Just a little preview of what's like with the thing off and the cab light on. You can just pick out things. So far, what have we got? We've got a weighty, quality loco with all-wheel drive, all-wheel pickup, 5-pole motor, packed with features, cab light, directional light, headlight. You've got the lights, at least the directional lighting working on DC. You've got lots of accessories, including an innovative clip to remove the body. No screws required. To be honest, fingernail underneath the side of the body works nearly as well, but the clips there, we're not going to argue with that. At this point, I think just on the look and the feel of the loco, I think they've got that right. I think they've managed to capture, and the level of detail for TT120 is tremendous. Little bit of overspray in one or two places that I could not see with the naked eye, but you can pick up with the camera lens. Anything else? The sharpness of the print on the nameplate as it's printed on the body is not the best, but you've got etched nameplates there, so I think that's probably about as nitpicky as I can possibly be. But I don't really know what else to say. I'm trying to find negatives to kind of come up. So to me, the look and feel is spot on. Maybe I would need to check this again. I should have done that. I need to check this, but maybe the handrails into the cab are still a little bit closer together. I think you'd want to breathe in and turn sideways to go through that door. So I think that's probably just a function of being at this scale. If you want to be separate parts, which they are, they're separately fitted parts, and there's a lot of separately fitted parts on the body, then I think you're inevitably going to come out further and will be prototypical, because you know what gap can there be? A finger's gap basically, and that's just not going to come out at this scale. So to me, the look and the feel, spot on. Now, what about the rest? Performance time. Right then, let's run through the functions. Let's get the lights on first of all, and change direction, and back again. Okay, and if we get the headlamp, there we are, and the cabin light. There we go. That's picking up a slight shake. Seems to have settled down. Okay. Now you can also, of course, cancel the rear lights when you're not running light engine. Let's put away some of the bells and whistles. And if we turn on AFC, let's see how she sounds. Okay, I'm going to actually just try the engine start. Sounds like a tractor. F2 for, that was F1, F2 for multiple horns, I think there's 4. F2 for the first time. And again. And again. And again. Yeah, that's his background. F3 for other horns. That's 2. And 3. And 4. And 5. I think that's his background again. So plenty of options. We'll try the brake school even though it's not moving. Right. So I'm going to put it into AFC. And see if we can get it moving. Forgive the PVA. And the brake. Okay. So it runs nicely enough. Can it crawl? Well, we know it can, but let's just check. Speed step 2. Speed step 1. I think that'll do. Okay. Okay, what I'm doing now is I'm going to see if we can get it to test its pulling power. So we've got a fairly lengthy rake, very, very eclectic mix, shall we say, as you'll see in a minute, and see how it does going up the incline. So you should see it emerging from the lower tunnel. Here she comes. Like I say, be prepared for an eclectic mix. There she goes. No problem at all. Look at that. Oh, that's excellent. Sounds glorious. Okay, so what do we think about this 37? Try and be brief. Does it look right? Yes, they've nailed it. Looks excellent. There's tooling variations as well. The green one has split head code, for example. These are noticeable, excellent things that Hornby have worked through. Does it run well? You saw. Runs beautifully. Superb slow speed control, even on DC, even on a cheap controller. That bodes well for someone running on a Gauge Master or something else like that. DCC takes care of itself, runs very well. In fact, possibly one of the best HM7000 locos I have without a Stay Alive. You saw it running there with the Stay Alive. I took a Stay Alive out and it ran very well, even without the Stay Alive. So that was encouraging. The coupling, I didn't really focus on the coupling because it just coupled when I wanted it to, and it stayed coupled. Coupling works well. What about the quality? The quality, I think, is there, with one possible exception, which is some of the wiring. Again, I didn't focus on this, but the first example I had was a Friday afternoon wiring job. I've contacted Hornby, no questions asked, sent me out a replacement. Arrived quickly. That's the one you saw running. That's, I think, what you'd expect, but it's what I got. And I can't complain with that. If you have a problem, don't bleat about it. Get in touch and let them sort it. And if they don't, by all means go bleat about it. But they did. Well done, Hornby. So the biggest issues, I think, are that there can be some wiring frailties. Do check. I suspect that somewhere along the production line there are folk who are maybe less experienced. Most people get absolutely fine examples, but one or two people who are at the factory maybe aren't so good with a soldering iron as they should be. And that comes through occasionally. So check that. If there's a problem, get a replacement. Don't try and resolder tiny parts yourself. Send it back. Hornby will send you out a replacement one that works fine. Some reports also of derailment on second radius. Now, what you saw was running on third radius, so I'm afraid mine runs. My track's not the best. But yeah, do be aware of that. I can't say more than that, I'm afraid, but I've seen reports of it, so I'm just reporting that back to you. And what about the other metric is value for money. These are $159.99. That's not cheap. It's not cheap. Is it good value? You'll get it cheaper at the retailers, maybe 15% off, 10% off, likely, maybe 15% in some. But of course, you'll get it 10% off from Hornby just through hobby points, which become available to you to spend more in 3 weeks' time after purchase. So that's, not insignificant. But right now, at the time of recording, they have a 2.5 times points offer for all in-stock items, and this is still in stock. So that brings it down to about 130 something pounds. No. What am I talking about? Way less than that. 2.5 times. Yeah. It gives you 25% off £160 locals. You get £40 worth of points back. And there's even another discount code lurking around just now. It might even be in the description below, as well as my affiliate link. Put these things together, and in effect, the true cost of this local to you right now is just over £100 from Hornby direct. Is it good value? Oh yes, that is. Oh yes, that is excellent value. Bravo, Hornby. This is a wonderful locomotive, and I love the 50. The 50's been my loco of choice. I do think the 37 might be now pushing out of the way, which I didn't think I'd be saying. And why? Well, you see, the 37 is much happier, I think, running freight as well as passenger services. So it's more versatile. The 50 was really a passenger loco, which could occasionally be pressed into some freight. I know you'll find examples of this that next thing, but that's as I understand it. Now, the 37 is actually smaller than the 50. It was significantly less powerful than the 50 in real life. At local level, it is lighter because it's smaller, so it probably hauls a bit less, but not going to trouble you at all in terms of what it can haul. So it's an excellent loco, and yeah. Do I recommend it? Yes, I do. I especially recommend it through these wonderful things called affiliate links. But anyway, go and buy it where you like, enjoy it. I hope you have a good experience with it. What'll follow after this is basically a little bit more running, but not much. But mostly just to take apart and the stay alive fitting and so on. So that's the gubbins. Stop here if you want to. If you're interested, carry on, watch a wee bit longer. And hopefully, we'll see you again soon. Thank you for watching. Okay, so it's time to take the body off to fit the HM7000 chip. And from the instructions, you'll see the first thing we have to do is to remove the cables. So these have to be removed. I think it's that second figure there that I have to worry about, but do remove that before you try the body off, or you will do damage to the detail work, which we want to try to avoid doing. Now, how to do that, however, and especially on camera, that could be interesting. Yes, okay, I can do it through the lens and see what I'm doing, but I have no depth perception then, so that I think has to pop off there. So I do that up close, hopefully you can see what's been done. Ah. Okay. Look at that again. So that's already a bit loose, to be quite honest. Yeah, that's going to come away. Now, where is the second piece? Let's go back and see which end I'm meant to be taking off here. Yeah. So it is that end there. And that comes away as well. Okay. Well, they're certainly both now detached. On that side. I'll attempt to do the same over here. Knock that down off. And we'll push that off. Okay, so that was probably say slightly less scary than I thought it might be. I think they'll still snare a wee bit in taking things off. Hopefully not too drastically. Right then, so next I need the detail bag, which is here. Now this has all sorts of goodies in it. It has the snow plows, it has the pipework, it has the edged plates, painted pipework I should say, it has some 3-link couplings and coupling hooks. And then this rather bulky looking thing here is this clip that is inserted into the underside of the body to release the body. No screws, but a tool to help get the clip off, which is a great idea if and only if it works. Screws can get lost, screws can get over tightened. So if this works, and if I can actually open the detail bag, also the detail bag, which I'm delighted to see, is resealable. Yay! Sometimes it's little things. Well done, Hornby. How often have we opened a detail bag that you had to basically tear open, and then what do you do with the little details if you only want one thing from it, such as an uncoupling, disconnecting body removal clip. We'll call it a body removal clip. There we go. So that's the rest of the detail. There's certainly not shortchanged us on details, and as you can see from the close-ups, there's already plenty on the bodywork. So this, now let me just check exactly where this goes, where I blundered. Plumb in the middle. See, it looks a wee bit like I would go there with it. Actually, it goes right there. So we'll put that in, and you're meant to insert it until you hear an audible click. Before movement body, the jumper cables at each end need to be separated from the chassis. Then insert a supplied body removal tool in between the body and chassis as shown in figure 7. There's figure 7. Push in until you hear an audible, presumably that's maybe an audible click. The body can now be lifted away as per figure 8. So what could possibly go wrong? It feels like it's a bit too wide, but that's presumably because it is meant to disengage. That sounded to me like an audible click, did it not? I would say so. Yep. Now, I just want to double check these cables again to make sure they don't get snared around the buffer, which is presently what is happening. That's good. Let me check the cables at the other end, which are also likely to get snared around the buffer. And there we have it. Our first look at the interior. I think I'll actually zoom out first a little bit so you can see it better. So it feels nice and weighty in the hand. You can see the cab light board. You can see there cab detail. Somewhat picked out. Was that a sticker or what? But that is actually a little bit picked out even, which is remarkable for the scale. And you can see the back of the cab as well. So nothing picked out there, but again, a good bit of moulded detail at least to keep your interest whetted. There is the blanking plug and the indication of where the next 18 chip is going to go. There is the speaker housing. And I think in this space here, let me just zoom out again. So at the opposite end from the chip in this space here you could fit the newer small Hornby Stay Alive. I don't have a spare one, so I'm going to try and run this just on the HM7000 chip. Without the Stay Alive, it's got, you know, all wheel pickup, all axle pickup, so I am optimistic, but we will see how that works. Okay. Time to go and get the chip. Right, so here are here's the Next 18 HM7000 chip and the included speaker. I have earthed myself by touching the radiator behind me. Always a good idea when handling electronics. So that will go here, and we'll start with that, and then we'll lay out the speaker cabling and so on. Gently open that from the anti-static bag. And there's the chip. So you've seen these plenty of times before. Up on top you have the two plugs for the Stay Alive and for the speaker. They're different, so you can't get it wrong in theory. Watch me try. Right then, so I'm going to surprise off the blanking plug. Comes away very neatly. And add on the new one. Can only go one way, so you and I shouldn't make a hash of this. But watch me. Just where these wires are slightly impinging on where I want it to go. That's it. Yeah, could hear the click and could feel the click, and that just sits in there spot on. So it is now a Bluetooth local, but obviously it is not got any sound yet because the speaker hasn't been fitted. So let's do that. So there is our little speaker. So what you want to do is to install the speaker into the chamber and get that the right way around. So allow me to figure out which is the best way. Is it that way, or I can't see that it makes any particular difference. So I'm going to do it this way, because then the wires at least come out the same side as the socket, as a plug. So that to me makes slightly more sense, but really very little practical difference. So you peel off, which exposes a little layer of glue, of adhesive, and you press it down so it seals into the chamber, and that gives you the best possible sound from that chamber if the seal is good. Don't overly press, but just firmly enough to seal it up. And then this just needs to be plugged into the decoder, which I will attempt to do. Where are we? It will also only go in the one way round. Problem is that I never remember which way around that is. That's it. So yeah. Press it home a wee bit firmly. It still will sit slightly proud. I think that's allow you to get your nails past it to pull it back out again. So when you pull it out, you don't pull it on the cabling. And that is that. I'm just going to route the wiring so that it comes neatly through the little channel that is already there. I'm going to use a little bit of the infamous black tack for that. Having recently finally acquired some black tack, not a thing I ever had before, but having heard so many folk yabber on about it, I thought it was a high time I did get some. So I'm now going to try and use some. Doesn't take a lot of this stuff. And that's too much. It's amazing what felt like a tiny amount of my hand, and then suddenly when you scale it next to where it actually meant to go, it's pretty quickly evident that you've overdone it. Another little blob. I think there's a rumble of the tumble there. Apologies for that. Right, and that will just sit neatly under the body once it goes on. Don't really think I need to tack that in place, to be honest. And that should be that. That's fairly neat. Quite happy with that. That needs to go in a bit better. Okay, so time to fit the stay alive. We're a wee bit later on. Light is fading here, but let's get this done. Notice these are now no longer stapled but glued. Is that an improvement? Maybe. And even then they're still sealed. Okay. So tear open the bag either way is a job. I had an embarrassingly difficult time attending to that, but anyway, that's why I'm showing that off camera. Okay. Hornby Stay Alive, you know the drill by now. So the place for this to fit is at this end, not at the decoder end, but behind, I suppose, the bulkhead, you might say, here. Now you have to be careful with some of these wires, and you want them, let's see if we can get that in focus. Hang on. You want them gently prized out of the way while you fit the Stay Alive. So I'm going to do that off camera. I'm going to show it to you just now. So that's where it's going to go. There is space for it, but you don't want to strain the wires. You want to stress the joints. You want to leave them intact because there has to be a bit of movement. You can see that moving that bogie, these red and black wires particularly are deliberately looped and flexible to allow the movement of the bogie underneath. Okay, so let's see how we do. Okay, so that's me back. Didn't actually take that long. I've just knocked the camera. I've just got a little bit of black tack on the back side the bulkhead there to capture these wires, keep them out of the way, and then just ease that on top, and then we'll fit the plug into the usual place and we'll tidy the wires up as we go. Okay, so that's the cabling in place. Do take note when you fit the body back on, you can see the image of a fan just, you see that through there? Hang on. Yeah. So that's to tell you at what end the fan on the body goes to avoid fouling in. So the fan goes to that end. Just, it's easy to lose track of what goes where when you put things back together again. Okay, body on. Do remember in putting the body back on to be careful once more with the hoses here. Cabling has to be placed round the buffer before you clip everything back in place. And that's us all back together again. Remember to do the cabling at both ends, of course. So that's it, sound fitted, stay alive. Let's get it on the layout.